Hi everyone! Welcome to our very special Dante update stream. My name's Jack. This is my good colleague Keith, who I'm sure you all know already.
Hello.
It's not going to be a massively long stream. We're just going to have a quick look through what some of the updates are to the Dante cards, the Dante card range, what's going on with general product availability when it comes to things with Dante in them. Do you want to bring up? I've written a presentation because that's what I was feeling presentation-y.
Because this one here.
That one there. Oh, here we go. Dante card
beautiful.
update, Jack and Keith. So let's dive straight into it. So there are 3 new products. These products are all replacing existing products that we have at the moment. So we have the version 2 SQ Dante card, 64 by 64.
The replacement, the old one's the V2. I've got all the old ones here actually. But yes, the V3 Dante 64 by 64, which is exactly the same as the V2 Dante. And then we've got the 2 new ones for D-Live and Avantis.
And we have the V3.
Sorry,
sure.
I'm giddy with excitement.
We have the V3 D-Live 64 by 64 and the V3 D-Live 128 by 128. So the 2 D-Live based cards work with both D-Live and Avantis, and the SQ card will work with
SQ and AHM.
There we go.
I'm really here, I swear.
So the next question that will be on everyone's lips is, when is it coming? And that's a really, really easy question to answer. It's already here. These are already shipping. They're already with some distributors, and they will be making their way to users and our customers in absolutely no time. I think a couple might already have landed.
I think so. I mean, the important thing to note here, though, is that there are, as most of you are well aware, huge amounts of back orders. So we are making these as quickly as we can. And as Jack says, we are shipping already. We have started to ship. So they will be coming through. But there is a large back order. So if you've got orders in already, you can be assured they're on their way. If you're getting orders now, it will still be coming as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll talk a little bit further on in the presentation about the technology behind it and what this has allowed us to do. But yeah, the main point, the important point, is that we've made changes to the componentry that we use. We made changes to the design of the product, and all those changes and all that testing to make sure that it still works and still does all the things it's supposed to do have paid off, and we've finally got them into manufacture and manufacturing at scale, which is the important thing. Manufacturing at scale. So new Dante cards, they're already here. So let's have a little look at the differences and what they are, what they're not, why you'd want one. So I've got most of the, if not all of the current range of Dante cards on the screen at the moment. On the far left-hand side, we've got our 48K M Dante card. So this is the one that you would use with the MEU, our personal monitoring system, or you might use with iLive or GLD, our sort of last generation consoles. Keith, were you going to say something?
No, that's So that's all the older 48K ones, and then moving on with the SQ. Are you all right?
No. I just thought you were trying to get something in. Go for it. Go on. Do you think?
I was just to say that with the V1, so I have got the original V1 card here. So this one will only work in SQ. So that's the original one for SQ, and Jack has got the V2 over there. So the difference with the SQ V1 and V2. Is that the V2 card? I can probably show you that actually. I'll get rid of that one.
Cut me up.
And I do that one. There you can see the V2 and V3 side by side. But the V1 was just for SQ, and then with the introduction of AHM, we actually brought in the V2 to allow preamp control and various other small hardware changes. So V2 works with AHM and it works with SQ. So that's kind of that replaced V1. So if you find any V1s, out in the market, I'm sure they've all been snapped up for a while now. But if you come across any, they wouldn't work in an AHM, just so you know. V2 will work in AHM, will work in SQ, and V3 is exactly the same. So although we've changed some hardware here, that was great hand modelling.
I was waiting.
You
I was ready.
on the button. As you can see, that's our test. That is our absolute V1. I don't know if we've got a serial number on that one, but that's probably 02001 or 2 or 3. But all the rest will come after that one.
No, disappointingly, it
doesn't have a
1005407.
Oh, that's boring.
That's a boring serial
number. So yes, that's where we are with the SQ ones. So jumping back in for your
thanks
V1 and V. Why is it V1 V3? That's a very leading question.
It's a very leading question. So we decided when we came out with the most recent update, we were going to level it all so it was very obvious to everybody what technology the different cards used. So the V3 cards that are have just been released all use the same chipset technology. They're all the same generation. They all have the same sort of back end, for want of a better phrase. So V1, we just skipped V2 on D-Live and Avantis. Basically, there was no need. We never really had a V1 equivalent to the SQ card because we never had something that needed to work with AHM. Mm-hmm. So V1 and V3, when it comes to the D-Live style cards, will work with Avantis or D-Live. There's no difference. The main difference is really in the I've just seen some. We'll go to the chat in a second.
Yeah, I've seen that one from Jay.
Yeah, I was just reading it.
No, it's a good one. Maybe we should bring it up now.
Okay. I hadn't read the end of it.
Yeah, so Jay was saying, why if you didn't change the functionality, why is it not called 2.1? Which is a good question, and I think going from V1 to V2 on SQ, we just want it to be really clear and make it really easy to understand which is which. And there is a little bit of extra functionality because it works with HM. For SQ users, there's no different. I know there was a lot of confusion at the time with, is this going to sound better, or is this going to have more features somehow, or is it going to have more channels? And it's like, no, the channels are the same, the features are the same, sample rate's the same. It's just that it works with more products. And in this case, we're using slightly different hardware. So actually where it's really useful is more for us and for people keeping an eye on where things are going and which ones you've got and whether or not it's an old one or a new one. So yeah, it's just.
So one of the big differences, certainly with the D-Live and Avantis cards, and I'm going to assume that it's the same for SQ, and Keith can stop me if I'm making this up, is that there's going to be different firmware that you'll install for the V1 and the V3 D-Live Avantis cards. So part of the importance is making sure that we make it clear to users which one they have, but it's more of like a support after sales kind of thing. One of the things we've spent a lot of time doing when we change componentry for a product that's already in the market is making sure that the feature set is exactly the same and making sure that it should not matter whether you've got, certainly for D-Live Avantis, the only slight complications V1, V2 with the SQ card and HM. But other than that, the important thing that we've been concentrating on is making sure that it shouldn't matter which one you have. There's only a couple of very, very small instances where it matters. So if you're already a proud owner of a D-Live V1 card, there's no need to rush out and buy a V3 card, and the same for version 2, version 3 on SQ. I just saw another question about, so the new V3 card won't work in the MEU hub. Very interesting question, one we'll come back to towards the end.
Mm-hmm. I know that everybody's asking, can you control a DT16.8 or 16.4W using the new V3 Dante 128?
You've hidden it with our camera.
Hang on, here we go. Great, you can. Okay, good news.
For just a moment, I thought it was just going to keep the avatar there in the way.
Sorry. Should we have a quick look at questions and suck through? I should have been looking while you're talking. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's terrible of me.
Yeah, we can take some questions now.
But
keep going.
Have you shown off the new?
No, let's do that first.
Let's look at this.
I've noticed that they've supplied me with two 64s, so we'll just bring the one out.
Well, if you tape them together.
Oh, very good. So we have the new. Oh, I've missed. There we go. So that's the new V3. You can tell the difference by the version number in the corner here. What are you giggling about?
It is nice and clear, and exactly like you say, the firmware thing is really important because. You can get into all kinds of problems. Functionality is the same, firmware is different. Okay, we got good news. Yeah, it's good news. And Karen's here. Hello, Karen. Who else have we got here? Ian's here. Hello, Ian. Ben's very pleased that we've got new Dante. Already? What? Yeah, amazing. Will back orders exactly? So Wes has asked, will back orders be filled before shipping to big box suppliers stocking orders? Yeah. So where this is slightly complicated to answer is that this is to do with our distributors and our distribution partners. So they will order from us. And they will supply the dealers. So most of the time, we're not supplying dealers directly. So if you do want to find out about availability, it's contact your local distributor because they will have the best idea of where those back orders are, what they've got on order, and we'll be keeping them updated with when to expect new stuff. Klaus is here. Hello, Klaus. If ordered today, when will we really likely see it? Again, David, probably best to contact your local distributor because they will be able to give you a good idea. Okay, there's one this is off topic, but I'd love to know if we can expect similar news regarding the Waves cards for DLive soon.
Yeah, we can take that question.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. Essentially, we are slowly working through a large part of our product range. Anything that used maybe more legacy componentry, things, companies that have gone out of business over COVID, and we're taking the opportunity to sort of upgrade to something more modern. There are certain products, and Waves cards are one of those products that at the moment we're manufacturing as and when. There's very few things that we've actually stopped manufacturing, but there's a lot of things like Waves cards that we're unfortunately only able to manufacture in small numbers. It's essentially as much of the if we can get the components to make it, we'll make it. That's kind of how a lot of those products are working at the moment. They are all on the list to have a redesign, much like the Dante cards have had. We don't have a current ETA I can share with you. It's work that's ongoing, but that is.
I think the really important thing here is that we are trying to fulfill demand. I know a lot of people think, oh, well, why haven't you just brought this out earlier, or why haven't you got these cards out earlier? And we've been constantly working on it. So we're doing our best, but we're trying to fulfill demand where the demand is, and we're trying to satisfy as many people as possible. And of course, we want to get you your cards. It would be mad not to. So yes, we are working through it, but we're focusing our efforts on where the most demand is to start with.
Thomas, what's your current manufacturing output quantity? I'm not sure it's wise for us to give sort of business information like that out over Facebook. But I did have a chat with a number of people in the team, should we say, and Keith might pull a face in a second, but I've got permission to share this, don't worry. I specifically have permission to share this. We're manufacturing almost all things at a much higher rate than we were this time in 2019. We've recovered to the point of where we were pre-COVID, and are now just trying to keep up with demand. That's just to give you an idea of where we are in terms of quantities and manufacturing.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a slow thing. We are catching up, and we're exceeding and overtaking those demands. And how are we doing that, Jack?
How are we doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So we've gone slightly off topic, but is that going to reappear? You've turned it off, I think.
I haven't turned it off.
Oh no! Oh, it's disconnected.
Oh, it's reconnected.
Well, this is professional and good.
That's fine.
So it's really important, as I mentioned earlier, that we've gone to a lot of effort to make sure these have the same feature set. They do the same thing. So these are all still 96K and 48K capable cards. I think it's worth noting. I think a lot of people who are familiar with A&H will know this already, but for anybody who's maybe not so familiar or not familiar with our Dante products, we actually have sample rate conversion on the cards. So our consoles always work at 96K, or certainly all of our sort of current gen consoles. You don't change the sample rate of the console, but we do offer some sample rate conversion on individual option cards going in and out. This has the benefit that if you needed to run a Dante network at 48 and a Dante network at 96, if you had two cards in your console, certainly two cards in your DLive, you'd be able to run those two different Dante cards at different sample rates. So just worth noting there. The DLive cards, the DLive Avantis cards, both have dedicated control ports. All of the cards have redundant and switch mode. They all have an internal network bridge. the cards that you see on screen at the moment can all control the preamps of our DT range of expanders. So that's the DT, the DT168 and the DT164W. We do have some smaller ones, which we'll look at in a second. But certainly the DT168 and the DT164W, you can control the preamps from the console directly. If you're not using one of these cards, if you're maybe using one of our older cards, Dante, or if you're using a third-party console, or maybe just recording direct from your DT168 to your laptop, you can still control those preamps with DT preamp control, which is like a little third-party app you run on your computer. And we have AS67 and DDM support. So what I'm driving at here is we've gone to a lot of effort to make sure that the feature set is the same. So I've talked quite a bit about the fact that the hardware is different. And one of the things I think we both wanted to clear up is, we do try and keep an eye on some of the user groups, we keep an eye on the community, and we keep an eye on some industry forums that we don't look after. There's sort of like a confusion that comes up quite a lot about Ordinate and Brooklyn modules and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to go over to the next slide and talk about the technology that's in our products. So the vast majority of our current gen cards, in fact, all of our current gen cards, with the exception of Dante, which is our 48K iLive GLD card, we buy the license to run Ordinate software on our own chips. So we don't use Brooklyn modules in these products. We do use some Ordinate chips that aren't Brooklyn in some of our expanders, particularly in the DT02, the DT20, and the DT22.
Good work.
Thank you. DT164W and the DT168. So cards on the whole, we purchased the rights to run Ordinate software on our own chipsets, and expanders on the whole, we purchase in Ordinate chipsets. So unfortunately, a lot of the same components that Ordinate use on the Brooklyn module and in other Ordinate products that they were unable to ship are also the same components that we were using, or certainly parts of the cards. It's not that we were using Ordinate's chipsets, we were just sourcing from the same suppliers, or in some cases, we were sourcing for a different supplier, and when the first supplier wasn't able to supply, it meant everyone was going for the supplier we were using. And that's been sort of the story across the product,
probably for a couple of years now.
Yeah. So just as a little bit of an explainer, I'm just trying to keep an eye on the chat in case
there are some good questions.
Okay, yeah.
I want to jump into it because Dom's got an SQ.
Go on, show the question.
I'm showing the question. Here we go.
He's hiding it from me, so I can't see what's going on.
There you go. How safe is it to swap the card? Because Dom works with a lot of... I hope you're well, by the way, Dom. Hi. They works with a lot of SQs, and most of the clients don't have a Dante card. It's safe for you to carry it. Obviously, it's best to keep it in anti-static. We've intended that you screw it in and screw it out, and it's fine. Something which is possibly not hugely well known, but here's, why not? We're sharing information here. Cards on SQ are hot swappable. They're not on DLive and
Correct.
Avantis. So don't do that on DLive and Avantis. But on SQ, yes, you can slot in the card. Just be really careful every time. That's what it is. Just take the extra time to do it.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
what about AHM?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably different.
Enough.
I don't know. Yeah,
it's fair enough for saying you don't know.
But also,
Nick will probably appear in the chat in just a moment.
It's more of an install and less of an ad hoc.
That's very true. Good recovery. Good recovery. Love it.
But yes, you can, as long as you just be careful when you're slotting it in. The easiest thing to do, or the easiest way to damage any of these cards or slots, is to force it and bend the pins, in my experience. So just don't force it. Just put it in gently.
It should require almost zero force to put in. It's just a very gentle.
No hammers. No, none of that.
It requires roughly the same or slightly less force than putting an XLR in.
Yeah, probably does. Yeah.
Just to give you an idea.
Curtis is here.
Brilliant.
Say hi to Curtis.
Which Curtis? Oh, Curtis McCoke.
Yeah.
I hung out. I can't speak today. Hanged out. Me and Curtis spent some time together on Friday. I went to see one of his shows. It's very good. There was an SQ there. There were 2 DLives there. It was great. It was a great time was had by all.
Good. Yes, Curtis is lovely. Karen's asked, how loud is that fan? Why does it need one? That is a good question, and the reason is that it's quite powerful. So the fan, I'm showing you on a V1 card here, but they've all got the fan.
I can.
Oh yeah, you can do it.
That's,
that's why we set that up.
That might be better to know. Got to line it up. Oh, wrong way.
So you can see, obviously, on the SQ AHM cards, the smaller cards, it's taking over the whole of the top of the board. But on the D-Live Avantis cards, that is over the main chip, basically. And that's because it gets really warm. And although it's kind of okay in most situations, we just wanted to add in that extra bit of cooling just to make sure it didn't go wrong in a really hot setup.
I think, strictly speaking, it's fine to run if the fan's... I wouldn't, but I think strictly speaking, it's fine to run without the fan. It's more that it won't last for as many years if you don't run the fan. Exactly.
So it's more of a safety thing, and it's not that loud at all. We did spend a long time trying to get a very, very quiet fan. In SQ, interestingly, it just moves the air around a little bit, so it's not loud at all. And then the other fans, the PWM fans, will just get rid of any of the warmer air. So hopefully that answers that question.
Take that one from Eduardo about pricing.
Okay.
I think so. Eduardo's asking, with production going back to 2019 levels, do you know if retail pricing will go back to pre-COVID? It won't be immediately. I mean, one, we don't set retail pricing. You can leave it up. That's the question. But one, we don't set retail pricing. That's set at a dealer level. We have RRPs, and in some countries we have maps, but we don't have. We don't set the retail pricing. What's really important to note, though, is that our costs have gone up significantly. Although we're doing the numbers, the cost of manufacturing has gone up. The cost of buying the parts has gone up. In some instances, we've paid an awful lot more money for certain components that we can carry on manufacturing. And most of that has come out of our margin. We have put prices up in some places. We put a price to our distributors up. But we have also absorbed large amounts of that difference. So I don't know the answer to that question, that is the honest answer. But it's not just because we're manufacturing at that scale, unfortunately, doesn't mean that we're able to...
But we're not talking, double the price here. This is not. There are almost certainly going to be increases in places because they haven't been available for a period of time, and that's the way the economy works generally. But we're not talking like huge. Oh my god, we've got these new, got these new chips, and we've had to buy them.
I was talking more generally about products across the range, as opposed to these specific ones. Yeah. I have no idea
but David has a similar question, so that's why I'm kind of jumping in a bit more.
No, that's fair enough.
Any plans for Milan integration? That's interesting, but that's more of an AVB style thing. Well, it's related. No plans at the moment, although we do keep an eye on the Milan stuff because it's pretty cool.
Keep an eye on all things, all the time. We're always watching.
Anthony's hot swappable. Yeah, I mean, but don't just go around unplugging and plugging in cards on an SQ, Anthony. Brilliant, that's good. How much did we pay in euro? Yeah, I think you just answered that, really.
Yeah, for any pricing, please ask dealers and distributors, because we're a few steps removed from that, unfortunately. So we can talk in general, large strokes terms about pricing, but we don't set the prices. So yeah, please do contact your local dealer. Also, we're talking to a lot of people from all over the world in this stream, due to things like import taxes, cost of shipping, can be really quite different in different territories. So it's not an easy thing for us to do, to talk about specific pricing, because actually pricing is quite different depending on where you are.
This is a good question.
The laptop running the presentation is
got a louder fan than the Dante card.
Yes. I don't know what sort of numbers we're making those adapters in, but as far as I'm aware, they are still being manufactured.
There we go. So that's the adapters for the old Dante cards.
We're just getting feature requests now in the chat.
Yes,
product requests.
Okay, so in DT32 for studio, prime preamp straight to the... Yeah, that would be pretty cool, DT32, wouldn't it? But
it would be. Shall we try and drag this back onto...
back onto the Dante cards. Yeah. Okay, so we were going to just show off the the other, while we're still on the
Yeah, we can
ordered
do this real quick.
chipsets, so let's have a quick look at those. So these are the DT boxes. I realised when we were setting this little stream up today that we haven't really shown these off in real life, IRL.
And we're still not, because we're on a stream.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. So almost in real life. But we've seen pictures of these, but they're quite neat little boxes. So we thought we'd show them off. So these ones are Dante in and out. So you've got a 2.0 and 0.2 there, but there's also a 2.2 with Phoenix connector. So you can see there's gain controls there, combi inputs for the 2.0, PoE powered. And those are really neat little boxes. And they've got little brackets on the side as well, so you can mount them under a desk and stuff. They're really very cool for install. I mean, they're also cool for chucking around the stage. This is some great hand modelling from Jack. I've never seen.
I'm having a great time.
It's an amazing talent. So just thought we'd show those off as well quickly.
So we've got reasonably sidetracked from the plan here, but I'm gonna bring it back on track just for a moment.
You're so good.
I know. So we were talking about. Do you want to bring the presentation back up? Go on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Alrighty.
Sorry.
So we were talking a little bit about technology and the fact that some of our products we license the software, and some of the products we get chipsets in for Ordinate. And one of the words that comes up a lot, or one of the phrases that comes up a lot, is Brooklyn card. So I thought this was quite funny. I was just entertaining myself, really. So what you're seeing on screen at the moment is our Dante card. This is a Dante card. I believe it's our first Dante card. It's Dante card created for iLive and GLD, still in use in the MEU, which is our personal monitoring system hub. And this uses a Brooklyn module. So we have an Allen Heath card carrier and an Ordinate card that sits in the carrier. Ordinate are no longer manufacturing the Brooklyn 2, correct? Give me a nod if that's right. But they certainly are bringing out the Brooklyn 3 for very similar reasons to the reasons we've talked about changing our products, which is to move to components that are much more available.
The idea with the Brooklyn 3 is that it is a drop-in replacement with exactly the same functionality using different parts. So the module itself would just work in exactly the same way, and any manufacturer who's already got their designs, like we have, you can drop it in and it'll just work.
Yeah.
Just work.
Correct, yeah. I see someone has asked several times in the chat now, can the FPGA be upgraded later for more channels on the Dante cards? I am not under the impression that it can. There's two parts to this. There's one that's licensing. So we license 64 channels from Ordinate, and I believe they have a different licensing model if you want to be able to offer upgrades to consumers after purchase. I think it's a different sort of system. So there's a bureaucratical reason we can't do it. I'm also not 100% clear. I'd need to double check, but I don't think that the actual card, the carrier card itself, has everything it needs on it to do 128 channels. I think it's only got the stuff for 64. But either way, there are many reasons why that's not going to happen. So unfortunately, the answer is no. But I'm not 100% sure of all the exact reasons. Are the new cards AES67 compatible? Yes, they definitely are.
Yeah.
And you scrolled away just as I was looking at something. But the point I was making is the Brooklyn 3 module will go straight into the Dante card. This is currently under test. So this isn't available now, the Brooklyn 3 module upgrade to the Dante card. The things we've talked about earlier, the new cards, the V3 Dante card for SQ and the two V3 Dante cards for DLive are all available and shipping now. This is a project that we're currently going through with R&D, so we've got some in test, and it's something we'll be looking to release in the near future. Everyone in the chat's going to ask me when, and I'm going to say I don't know. It's all about making sure that it's ready, and when it's ready, we'll release it. Someone's asking, can I upgrade my Dante with the Brooklyn 3 module? Technically, I think you probably can. There will be no reason to. So the feature set will be the same. It might be that the Brooklyn 3 is capable of features that Brooklyn 2 wasn't, but because we're using it in basically a backwards compatible mode to work with our Dante card and our older products, those features will not be available. So the Dante card with Brooklyn 3 will have the same feature set as the Dante card with Brooklyn 2, or at least that's the plan. Like I say, we've not released it, we've not finished it, so I can't be 100% sure. And that is where I was going to start the Q&A.
Yeah.
But never mind.
What a great animation.
Thank you. So if there are any other questions, we'll take them. And if not, we may think about bringing this stream to an end.
For anybody who missed it at the beginning,
Yeah.
the new Dante V3 cards are available. Just thought I'd throw that out there. There might be somebody who's just joined.
Absolutely. And the LinkedIn questions have started appearing as well. That's good.
Okay. We've got...
Yeah, I mean, so essentially there's a lot of questions in the chat about other cards, and I'll just repeat what I said a little bit earlier, which is that we are manufacturing pretty much everything at the moment. It's just sometimes not in the numbers we'd like to. We're manufacturing essentially, if we can buy the components for it, we're making it. We're flat out. And most things we are making at least a small quantity of every month. In terms of specific cards, we are going through our list. We are working through, and where appropriate, we're replacing componentry so we can carry on manufacturing. But there are no imminent news to share. It's all stuff that's in test and in design. Okay, Justin Pearson. We can go through that because that's kind of we'll say it again because it is one of the most important points that we're trying to make in this stream is what are the differences between the versions. So in terms of, I'm not sure, I imagine he's talking about D-Live. I think
it's V1 and the new ones, yeah.
Yeah.
V1
so if we're talking about a version 1 D-Live Avantis card and the new one, the V3 card, we've skipped V2 on D-Live and Avantis. There is almost no difference. The difference is all in the componentry, and the difference is all in how you do things like firmware updates and stuff like that, because it'll be a different firmware than you'd use for V1. The reason we've changed, or do you want to say something?
I was just going to say, if you didn't actually look at the card, you wouldn't know from the console.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on? You wouldn't know whether it was V1 or V3.
The difference is that we've changed the componentry that we're using to stuff that's more available that we can get hold of, so we can make them in the numbers that we'd like to make them in. That's the difference. There is a very small technical difference. I say very small. The V1 SQ size card does not work in AHM. So for AHM, you need a V2 or a V3 card. But the whole point of the version 3 is that it is no real different to the one that came before it in each range. It's just that we've changed the componentry to things we can buy at a sensible price so we can carry on manufacturing.
Very succinct.
Thank you. Succinct. Do we have any other questions?
There is. Are you going to bring out a DX? That's
can't
different
see
to
it
Dante.
if you hover over it.
Sorry, I know. So can I tell the DX version of Dante?
Yeah, I mean, we've read all the comments, and if we haven't brought your comment up, it's either because we don't have anything exciting to say about it. A lot of the things that are saying, does this exist? Will this exist? If we talk about it, we're only going to be saying we're always listening. There's nothing in there that we're in a position to share at the moment.
Yeah, essentially we know all of these, but
so please know that we do see all of them. I think there's been at least 9 requests for an SQ rack that I've seen.
Yeah. Yes.
We'd love to make one.
I'd especially love to make one. I want one.
I'll buy 2.
Yeah. So Karen says, I think Karen's talking about hacking around Dante card.
I see. Right. So the Brooklyn, I don't think the Brooklyn 3s are 128 by 128 anyway. And the back plane of that card can't support that many channels. So unfortunately not Karen.
Yeah. So
I am just keeping an eye on time, so I don't want it to get too far away from us. But we'll
no,
take
it's fine.
a couple more.
Paul is asking about M Dante still in production. So that's the M Dante old M Dante card.
Yeah. So if you missed that at the start, we are still making almost everything. The M Dante card, I think we're waiting for the update to Brooklyn 3 to be signed off. So I think at the moment that's on a pause because I don't think we can actually purchase Brooklyn 2 modules. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's the case.
I'm going to quote you.
Oh dear.
And then there's another question about Giga Race. So again, with Giga Race and Waves, we're just
there is no hold up. We're making them. We're just unfortunately not making them as quickly as people are buying them. So we are still looking to purchase more componentry and move to things we can buy more of.
That's a good question.
I didn't see it before you clicked on it. Will the Dante V3 card for D-Live and more or less lets you and slot between Dante and slot and V2? I am not under the impression that there'll be any difference at all, but I would have to check.
Yeah, I think the performance.
Yeah, because a lot of the performance in Dante land as well is it's buffered, so you're choosing a specific latency, and fairly confident. I'm going to get shot if I'm wrong. All of R&D watch these streams, then shout at me afterwards when I get it wrong. I'm fairly confident it's only 1 or 2 samples between the back of the card and the mix engine, which means it's not going to be, that's enough. I don't think it'll be any different. It might be a sample either way. I'm sure I'll get shouted at after the stream with the actual answer. And if I do, I'll let you all know.
But if you are looking for that one sample in 96,000 per second,
yeah,
maybe.
There's a lot more questions about back orders, and we don't have control over exactly who they go to. There are some legal implications as well in some territories about who you can choose to prioritize shipping for. But we are working through the back order list, and we'll be working through it quite quickly now over the next few months.
Yeah, this is a good question. So, Dante, domain manager on the V3. Yes, is SQ Dante V3 ready for the HM64? Yes. Easy one, isn't it?
What we'll probably do after this stream is some of the information that we presented. I think we can put it into a text format and put it on the knowledge base. So if you want to refer to any of this stuff, you'll be able to refer to it in a text format as well if you prefer to. I think particularly I'm going to try and get a table that shows what versions of firmware you're going to need to run, because some of these cards require new firmware on your console. As far as I'm aware, certainly for D-Live and Avantis, its current firmware will run the card. I'm assuming that's the same for SQ.
That is the case. Yeah, we kind of snuck it out a little bit over about a couple of weeks ago. We had 159 go out for SQ. That does support the V3 cards, so you'll see that in the release notes. And I think similarly for Avantis was the last one, or
yeah, someone saw it in the release notes and went, new Dante card coming, and we were like,
yep.
No comment.
Yeah, so yes, just use the latest firmware. And in terms of the Dante firmware, another point to make quickly before we wrap up is the updates for the Dante cards themselves. We are working towards getting all of those on the Dante updater, so it'll be really easy to update through there. There are some slight differences at the moment with the Dante V3 card for SQ, but the firmware that it ships with will be the firmware that we use for, as you know, it may never have a firmware update because it doesn't need one. It's not going to change the functionality of it. So yeah, that's just
Cool. I think that's all we've got time for. I haven't seen any more exciting questions pop in or things that we would know the answer to. So I think we'll probably leave it there for now. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. If you do have any questions after the stream, you can always get hold of us by going to support.alan-heath.com. It is a ticket system. Some people don't like to use tickets, but I promise we're a friendly team and we'll get back to you with something meaningful as soon as we're able. Yeah, if anyone needs anything else, that's the best way to get hold of us. There've been a lot of feature requests and product ideas in the stream. If you do have anything you particularly want to see, we suggest using the community, which is community.alan-heath.com. It's an old school forum because why not? And you can put any ideas you like in there. What I will say is that a lot of the R&D department also stalk the community. They won't post them because they're not allowed, but they do see it. So it's a really good way to get directly to them. Anything exciting in there that I can reply to? No, they're too long. Time to go, I think. So thanks ever so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Keith is about to have a fit of giggles, I think. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, they're here. They're there. They're right there. They exist. Dante is
here. Put the camera back on, then we'll cut.
Okay. Right. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.